Welcome to Conversations with HJM. I'm Lisa Harris-Jones.
And I'm Tommy Tompsett.
And today we have Council President Andrew Friedson from Montgomery County. Thanks for joining us.
Thrilled to be here.
I want to talk to you about housing. It's a big issue. We saw it in the last legislative session of the Maryland General Assembly. Montgomery County has an affordability problem with housing like most counties do in Maryland. You're a little stagnant in development. You have a big benchmark to hit about 30,000 affordable units. How are you going to get there as a council?
We're right now undertaking an effort to address our housing targets. We're not only looking at 2030, but we're going to be the first jurisdiction in the region and probably the country to look at 2040 and 2050 to hold ourselves accountable to those units that we need. We're also really taking efforts to address policy changes that we need to have more housing, to make sure that we're building enough to meet the needs of our residents. In the last council, I co-led an effort to incentivize housing at metro stations. We worked earlier in this council, I worked with one of my colleagues to expedite affordable housing through the review process. So now the time it takes to go through the review process is 75% less if you meet basically any of our affordable housing thresholds. We've made affordable housing a major priority in every area master plan that we have focused on, ensuring that 15% moderately priced dwelling units, meaning workforce units and below, are part of those redevelopment efforts. We have partnered in a unique way with our nonprofit partners, both in providing tax incentives and in right of first refusal, which is an area that the state has picked up, largely with some of the efforts that we're doing in Montgomery County and also in neighboring Prince George's County, where when a multifamily unit is for sale, there's an opportunity for either the Housing Opportunities Commission, our local housing agency, or county government to step in to purchase it so that it can be preserved for affordable housing. And then we have two funds that I've been working on for several years. One is a $100 million housing production fund, which is a unique fund. It's been highlighted in the New York Times, on Vox. It's become a national model for public-private partnership and creating mixed income communities that has been wildly successful. And we just finally launched something that I've been working on for several years, a $50 million nonprofit preservation fund. Through that fund, partnering with the local housing agency, Housing Opportunities Commission, our Department of Housing and Community Affairs, and local area nonprofit partners and other affordable housing providers, we can preserve up to a half of our at-risk, naturally occurring affordable housing. It will likely be the most significant effort of any local jurisdiction.
Understanding that economic development is very important to you and that there's a job initiative with $20 million, I believe, for 3 projects. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I'm really excited. During the last budget cycle, I led an initiative that was supported by my colleagues and ultimately approved to jumpstart our local economy, which we desperately need to do in Montgomery County and across Maryland. We are not as good as the sum of our parts. We have unrivaled economic assets in Montgomery County, and we need to make sure that we are humming on all cylinders and that everything is working together. And we need to recognize that in a way that hasn't necessarily been the case throughout my lifetime as a lifelong Montgomery County resident, we are competing throughout the region. We're competing, frankly, globally for investments, for jobs, for the type of businesses that we want to sustain our quality of life. So we launched a $20 million economic development initiative, the New Jobs Initiative, and it has 3 parts to it. There is a job attraction piece, $10,000 per job created. If you create up to a certain number of jobs that pay $100,000 or more, you get a bonus of 20%, $12,000 if you are in a community equity index located area, which allows us to make sure that we're intentionally investing in the communities that need it the most. And 2 other funds, an innovation fund to really focus on the lifeblood of the Montgomery County economy, which really focused on innovation, technology, biohealth, and also a Founders Equity Fund, which ensures that we're focusing our efforts on those businesses that have historically been underrepresented, particularly in Montgomery County, but frankly throughout our entire state and national economy, and it's something that we have really been intentional in focusing on.
I know you're doing a lot in biohealth, whether it's with legislation, regulations, making sure the zoning is proper. I know there's some initiatives for statements from the council. Tell us a little bit more about what you're doing in that area.
Yeah, biohealth is a huge area for us. It's a major focus. Obviously, the Human Genome Project was located in Montgomery County, and that really exploded a biohealth industry that has not only become life-changing for people across the world, it's been life-altering for the quality of life in Montgomery County. So we've really focused on that. It's a huge area for us. Obviously, we have National Institutes of Health. We have NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology. We have Federal Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. We have a ton of federal research assets. And so we're really pushing the envelope on that. So one of the things that I did last council is really focus on the zoning aspects of it through the regulatory review process. The same effort that we did for affordable housing, my first effort was on biohealth. So if you bring in a large biohealth facility or expand an existing biohealth facility up to a certain level of 50,000 square feet or 150,000 square feet for a new biohealth facility, we'll reduce the regulatory burden by 75%. We will supercharge that effort and make sure that we are prioritizing it. The reason for that, of why it is so important, we know that time is money for every business, but particularly in the biohealth industry, where everything is based on research trials, timing is everything. And we need to make sure that we can compete with every other place around the country. Right now, Montgomery County is, depending on how you judge it, third in biohealth investments. We want to be first. And in order to be first, we know that if we can get that timing right, if we can make it easier to invest and to build a lab, to build a research headquarters, we can compete with any other place on earth. In fact, we're competing today. If we can change that one aspect of it, we know that we will be the global powerhouse that we're capable of being.
Northern Virginia, which has become somewhat of a formidable foe. How are you going to differentiate yourself to Northern Virginia and get that business that may consider going there to come to Montgomery County?
Well, that's why I've been so intentional in focusing on these efforts. One of my first bills that I worked on when I joined the council 6 years ago was an economic impact statement to make sure that in every piece of legislation that we're considering at the county council, we want to make sure that we're not just focused on the county's budget, but we're focused on the budgets of businesses and residents, because it's their budget that makes our budget. That's what really sustains all of the quality of life that we have, all of the programs that we care about. And the reality is, I don't think we have been as intentional about growing our economy as we need to. I think some of it we've taken for granted, because Montgomery County has always been such a great place. It's always been a fantastic place to invest for so many reasons, because of so many assets that we're so fortunate to have, but we are now in a different environment. That competition is happening in a way that we weren't used to 20, 30, 40 years ago. And now we have to be used to it. And the changes in the economy are actually to Montgomery County's benefit. The changes to the fact that we have a global economy increasingly, we have 1/3 of our residents are foreign born. That is a huge asset. There are more than 100 languages that are spoken in Montgomery County. So it's not just the federal assets, it's not just the research assets, it's the unrivaled talent that we have that is a magnet for talent from all over the world. It is the purpose-driven people that we have that both grow up in Montgomery County and have that as part of their ethos, but also are driven to come to a place like Montgomery County in the shadows of the federal government with so many research institutions. They want to not only do well, they want to do good for humanity, and increasingly that's where the economy is headed. And I think Montgomery County is in as good a position as any place on earth, but we have to be intentional and we have to focus on understanding that businesses have choices. And we have to make them want to make the choice to invest in Montgomery County, and we're focusing really hard on trying to do that.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for joining us on Conversations with HJM.